Thank you, sir. To you. Of course, the final day of the year, I know you wanted this to be, new beginning, so to speak. So what's it going to take today to end this slide and against one of the better teams not only in the NBA but the Western Conference?
Yeah, I think the last two games we've played, New York and OKC were, two of the top teams in the league, obviously. And, I've maintained this from the beginning that, I think for us to get better, there's a certain way we need to play. It plays to our strengths, and I think we've done that the last two games. And I told the team it'd be great to get a win out of one of those or both or whatever, and have that be affirming. But I think we're playing. We play good basketball both those games, and often, the scoreboard, so to speak, doesn't reflect that. But we're this season, we'll continue to be presented with challenges with guys out. Our primary guys out and back, and that's something we need to continue to manage and work through. And we get another opportunity tonight, as you said, against a really good team.
You guys get Kristaps back today. Just what for you has been sort of the challenge of having him out, reintegrating him back into the lineup, having him out, just sort of that up and down?
Well, anytime you have a player, and you can say this for both he and Trey, that going into the year, you look at, two of our primary, most productive guys that people are pointing towards, and when you plan on creating things and executing things that play to their strengths. So when they're out, you adjust, and when they come back, you adjust again. And those adjustments, even if they're made, in a given time, they take time to settle in and implement and become comfortable. So I think it's easy for people to forget that. And for us, to be honest with you, you want to forget it to some extent. You don't want to be lingering in the past or the future. You want to be in the immediate, and I think we've done that. I also think it's really good to have him back. He's a really good player.
Coach, last year, Asa shot like 29% from three, college 3-point line. He was about to finish the calendar year having shot pretty remarkably both in terms of volume and accuracy. And I'm just wondering, what in your mind, what's gotten him to this point?
He's worked at it. I think this summer with a few of the guys on our staff that spent a lot of time with him, he was hopping into his shot. So he's got a different approach to a shot, and he's worked at that. And I think that really has impacted his volume, where he's able to get his shot off quicker. And usually when you put a lot of time in working on something, it builds your confidence. And he's been told from the very beginning, we want you to take that shot. I think Onyeka taking that shot more and more, when he sees that, identifies with that too. So some of it's just, the NBA is different than college as far as his role on our team. But coming in the game, as you mentioned, and not playing less minutes than he certainly did in college. Sometimes people put more pressure on themselves shooting the ball, and he hasn't done that. And again, I think it goes to his mental toughness and his confidence and his hard work.
Coach, I know this is important every single game, pace of play and the way you all want to play, but when you're taking a look at Minnesota and the way they're able to play half-court defense, just how important is it to get out and run in the pace of play tonight?
Yeah, well, I just concur with what you said. I can rewind it for you. But anytime you have a team that is really good, defensively in half-court, you have to figure out ways to not play against that. So one big thing is foul. With both Edwards and Randall, they're elite at drawing fouls, and if they're shooting free throws, they're back on defense. Even if they score, we're able to take the ball out of the net. We'd rather have stops, but we still get to play with some pace. So not fouling is really important. And I think, whether it's Robinson, Holmgren, and now Gobert. You have, back to back, three of the best shot blockers and rim protectors in the league. So even if we do get into a half-court game, which invariably happens, I shouldn't say half-court game, on the possessions that we are playing against more set defense, it's even more important for us when we do get in the lane to have our eyes out and not challenge those guys at the rim. And that's something we watched from our Oklahoma City game. We got a lot of eyes out threes because we do want to break the paint. You want to attack the rim, but then make the right high percentage decision when we get in there. So that's easy for me to say at times because the game's moving pretty fast and those guys cover a lot of ground. But it becomes really important to play off 2 feet, to be under control, and also to get off the ball early. To not penetrate too deep, or you lose the possibility of finding a teammate.
I know you said after the game up in City that no more victories and all those things, but even also the players have said there's been progress in the last 2 games in particular. How do you kind of weigh that progress and what are you taking from it, but also channeling it moving forward?
I mean, I think it's really significant. Like we've been a really good team at various points in the year, and then like a lot of teams, whatever the factors are, you have slippage, and so to see that, go the other direction, particularly playing what we did in New York, a single possession game, and then going to OKC, you're playing against the world champs, and they've got their whole roster, I guess minus Hartenstein, and we're missing Trey and Jalen and KP. That would have been an easy game, particularly when they, built a lead and went on the third quarter for us to kind of just, hey, we played a good half, we competed. So I love the fact that we just kept grinding, and those things sometimes are the most important things that you take with you. And I've said this, I don't know exactly what the percentage of game, third way through the season, like that's a lot of basketball left, and you're mindful of losing, but at the same time, how you handle that, I think is how you handle guys being out, how you handle a poor shooting night. What are the things that you can do to get better over time? And that is my focus and will continue to be, because I do believe that there's a formula for us that if we do that, we might not win as many as, there'll be some games we lose where we feel like we played well. But us playing well is really important, particularly with the young team, because we're still trying to, I think we've embraced certain things. There's buy-in. It's a question of making those things habitual, particularly, in competition when you have really good teams that are, they got a game plan too.